Last time we tackled the Marvel Mount Rushmore. This time, we're here to decide the definitive DC Mount Rushmore. Again, the Mount Rushmore framework is pretty interesting because it's pretty easy to pick a top 3 in any case, but a top 4? See, that's when titties get twisted. So to kick us off for the DC hero Mount Rushmore, we have Superman. I can't imagine any argument that can be made to take him off this Mount Rushmore. If anything, the only reason I take him off is because it's too obvious of a pick. You get a silhouette of any random guy and put a cape on and boom, people just think Superman. Or if there's some generic off-brand superhero, it's usually modeled after Superman, and I think that feat speaks for itself. The fact that I've spent more than 2 seconds justifying this pick is pretty insane. The second pick for the DC Mount Rushmore of heroes, it's Batman. Come on. And yes, I do realize I drew Superman's head way too big. I don't know how I'm gonna fit everyone. Batman is the most profitable character in DC and is also the embodiment of the human with no superpowers superhero archetype. You stick your fingers up right next to your head and everyone instantly thinks Batman. Superman and Batman alone are basically like 60% of DC, and that number will probably increase when Superman finally gets his own fucking video game. So my third pick for DC's Mount Rushmore of heroes is for some reason a controversial one, even though it shouldn't be. It's Wonder Woman. Boom. Now, listen, I didn't pat myself on the back too much, but I think that's a pretty decent Wonder Woman sketch. Wonder Woman is the first female superhero to be put on the pop culture map. Need I say more? I will be honest though, Superman and Batman are up here, Wonder Woman is down here, and fourth pick, whoever that may be, way the fuck down there. It's not equal standings, but you know what? On Mount Rushmore, standings don't matter. We pick our top 4 and we move on. Now here is where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean painfully difficult. The first option we have for the 4th spot on the DC Heroes Mount Rushmore is Green Lantern. A legacy title that's been held by many different characters, sure, but Green Lantern is such a pivotal piece in the DC landscape. Apart from the New God stuff, Green Lantern and Lantern lore is pretty much anything space related in DC. Also, the fact that there's always a Green Lantern in pretty much any Justice League variant says something big. However, that can also be said for our second contender for the 4th spot. It's the Flash. Again, not any Flash in particular, but just the Flash character in general. It can be argued that Flash is the archetype for speedster characters in most modern pop culture media. I mean, before Flash it was Hermes, but I think that's going a bit too far back. If there's some kid's cartoon with a generic speedster superhero with lightning on his costume, you can't really deny the impact that the Flash has had at some point on the character's creation. Also, I think it's important to note that the introduction of the Barry Allen character marked the beginning of the Silver Age of comics, so the Flash character has had some impact on comics in general. And I think for the most part, the general public can somewhat name the Flash. Like if you ask someone random on the street if they knew who the Flash was, they'd likely say yes. But if you ask the random person to name the speedster who dresses in red and yellow, it might be 50-50 as to whether they can conjure up the name themselves in their head. Also, when I say general public, I mean people who don't give a shit about superheroes and never have, which is a demographic I assume most of the people watching this video are completely disassociated with. Because I bet some people are watching this video thinking, what? Everyone can name the Flash. You'd be surprised. But my third and final pick for the 4th spot on the DC hero Mount Rushmore is Robin. For the 3rd time, not any particular version, just the Robin character in general. Now you might be thinking, it would be a bit weird to put Robin on the DC hero Mount Rushmore when Batman's already there, and Robin is just Batman's sidekick, right? The truth is, after Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, Robin is by far and beyond the most recognizable DC hero. The duo of Batman and Robin is pretty much the gold standard of having a sidekick in any everyday casual conversation ever. You can talk to anyone who hasn't seen a comic book film ever, and they'll just say Robin to imply a partner in crime. Or should I say, partner in justice. You can say Batman and you would have to find a complete fucking dumbass who wouldn't say Robin. And his look in general, a young guy dressed in red, yellow, or green with the R logo, bro's in the big leagues. So as I said before, this 4th pick is quite difficult. Okay, let's go over these potential 4th places one more time. Green Lantern. Relevance is a big factor in this, and it can be argued that Green Lantern is not that relevant to the general public. As of the moment, the most Gen Pop know of Green Lantern is the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, and Reynolds has done nothing except shit on it since it came out, so that doesn't really help either. Sure, we got Guy Gardner in the Superman movie, but nothing about his role in that movie implies that Green Lantern belongs in the big top 4. This might change though with HBO Lanterns and Aaron Pierre appearing in Man of Tomorrow, but we can't rely on short trends to build our DC hero Mount Rushmore. In fact, we should be doing the very opposite. If we consider that Lantern color law was only conceived during the 2000s, I don't see a strong argument as to why Green Lantern is that pivotal to belong on the DC Mount Rushmore. Of course, he is important and popular, but compared to someone like The Flash, who are we kidding here? Also, I know Hal Jordan was the first modern Green Lantern, but lest we forget he dated a kid one time. I don't think any of us want someone like that on our Mount Rushmore. For now, I am gonna say that Green Lantern is out of the running. Because if anyone does the running here, it's The Flash. So it's really down between The Flash and Robin. Robin is a pop culture juggernaut. He transcends nerd spaces. So what could The Flash possibly have to compete with that? Well, he's had the 90s show, he's had the CW show, he's had that not so well received film in 2023. But again, being the model for any speedster character nowadays is no small feat. But a similar thing can also be said for Robin. Not only is he just a sidekick, but he represents youth, growth, and legacy in DC. Also, let's not forget the Teen Titans, a comic book smash during the 80s, a 2000s phenomenon, and still relevant with kids today with Teen Titans Go. We don't talk about Titans. Robin allegedly appeared more times in the golden age of comics than Batman himself, which I know sounds hard to believe, but Robin was such a smash hit for younger kids, and you know what that means? More money. Don't even get me started on how Robin led to the creation of characters like Bucky and Kid Flash and Superboy and Speedy and a whole bunch of others. So if you couldn't tell where I'm going with this, yes, I am going with Robin as my 4th pick on the DC Mount Rushmore of heroes. Now, I know some people are gonna be upset at this, but you know what? Don't hate the player, okay? Hate yourself. Honorable mentions, let's go. We got The Flash. Holy shit, this green marker sucks. We have Green Lantern. I'm gonna say Aquaman, because, you know, he's the fish guy. And you know what? I'll even chuck in Zatanna. This does not look like Zatanna. That looks like, fucking, what's his face? Mr. Creepy Butthole from Rick and Morty. I'm sorry, Zatanna. I did you dirty here. And by the way, this whole thing was done while excluding Harley Quinn because we all know she would have taken this spot right here. Now we move on to the DC Mount Rushmore of villains. Similar to the hero side, I think there are 2 villains that easily top this list without question. First is the Joker. Oh my god, I just drew in the wrong color. That was actually a pretty peak Joker, I'm not gonna lie. I cannot believe I have to restart this. I'm not gonna lie, my drawing skills are kind of popping off today. Joker's arguably the 2nd most famous villain in modern pop culture, only behind Darth Vader and politicians. So it would just be really dumb to not have him on here. And just like the character of Batman, every actor sees the character of Joker as an opportunity to flex their acting skills and hopefully win an Oscar. And believe it or not, movies matter a lot for a character. Sure, we've had some stinkers, but you can't deny the cultural impact that the Joker has had. He is arguably the face of comic book villains. I don't even know why I'm still elaborating on this. Next, my 2nd pick for the Mount Rushmore of DC villains has to be, come on, the egghead maniac himself, Lex Luthor. Of course, the gap between Joker and Lex Luthor is pretty wide in terms of impact and relevance, but I think most people would be able to vaguely recognize Lex Luthor. There's not that many bold white guy characters apart from Walter White, so I feel like Lex Luthor is an easy pick for reference. But you know what? I love the bold guy rep, and I honestly think we need more of it in our mainstream media, and I'm glad Nicholas Hoult gave it. Okay, so now these 2 last spots. This is where it gets kind of tricky. The villains kind of have the opposite problem of the heroes. There's not enough villains that have the iconic status, so we'll kind of just have to go through the scraps. Actually, no, maybe the 3rd pick is a bit more obvious than others. How do you draw him? Oh my god. Wait. I'm actually blanking on how to draw him. Well, please assume that is Darkseid. That might be the only L we're taking in terms of the drawings today. Actually, that's not even that bad, I think. Unlike Thanos, Darkseid has been consistently shown to be a foil for the Justice League. Not even just in the comics, but in every media form ever. Thanos was here and there for the Avengers, but let's be real, his boost came from Infinity War and Endgame. Plus, Darkseid is the embodiment of evil in the DC universe, so it would be kind of silly to not put him in here. What Darkseid has is consistency, as being portrayed as the big bad of the DC universe, unlike Thanos, who's sharing the spotlight with fucking Galactus and Ultron and Loki and Annihilus and the Marvel editorial team. Also, the guy's pretty much responsible for creating the absolute universe. I think he deserves some credit for that alone. Now here we are to pick the 4th spot for the DC Mount Rushmore of villains. Going back to the Marvel version of this that we did, we have yet to have a single 4th spot picking that's been easily done. It's always such a fuckfest. And happy to say that that trend continues here. First contender we have for this 4th spot is Brainiac. He is a Superman villain, but he has transcended to an all-around DC villain because he is that much of a problem. The term Brainiac, like when you call someone smart a Brainiac, that literally comes from Brainiac, so I think there's an argument there to be made that he does have some pop culture relevance. Plus, he's about to get a major boost from Man of Tomorrow, which, by the way, his live-action debut in film has been long overdue. The next contender for the 4th spot is Reverse Flash, aka Professor Zoom, aka Eobard Thawne. Reverse Flash has been argued to be the biggest hater in the DC universe, only competing with someone like Black Manta or Warner Bros. Pre-DC Studios. He's also somewhat responsible for ushering the New 52, so he has had some in-universe impact, and he's a pretty good foil to the Flash. Next villain contender, we have Sinestro. I know we didn't end up going with Green Lantern, but Sinestro is pretty big in DC, and like I said before, competition isn't that strong at the moment. Sinestro is also a pretty laid character and has been around for God knows how long. My next contender for this 4th spot is controversial, but hear me out. It's Catwoman. Catwoman's been a pop culture icon since the 60s and never really left, and every film version of her has been a hit, so I think there's a pretty strong case for her. If she was a villain. Let's face it, she does mog the other 3 in terms of recognition and pop culture impact, but she's really more of a hero these days, and I'm not talking about Magneto, Darkseid type of shit. No, she's literally just a hero now. So I am gonna have to cut off Catwoman, but I did want to bring her up. So for the 4th spot, we have 3 real contenders, being Brainiac, Sinestro, and Reverse Flash. Let's get this out of the way. Brainiac and Sinestro already have the upper hand because they were in the fucking Legion of Doom. They're classics, and they have stayed consistent in popularity since then. Reverse Flash, however, he came in a bit later, and he really got a boost from the Flashpoint Paradox film and the Flash CW series. The fact that Brainiac has appeared in so many stories, both Superman and Justice League, I feel like his impact on the DC universe is pretty undeniable. And Sinestro has been the Green Lantern arch nemesis for the ages, while Reverse Flash, he was wavering back and forth with Captain Cold. Oh my god, it's a big crossover and all the supervillains are here too, but who's wrapping the Flash mythos? It's not Reverse Flash, I'll tell you that. Also, one thing I don't like about Reverse Flash is his fan base. They're just YouTube Shorts people who regurgitate, oh my god, Reverse Flash is the pettiest hater ever in the DC universe. Can you please pick a different dialogue option? Fucking hell. I feel like his significance for DC is too modern in a way, and I feel like Mount Rushmore should be timeless, both in comics and pop culture media. Before the memes about it was me, Barry, I don't think anyone would have even considered putting Reverse Flash on here. So yeah, I know it's gonna piss a lot of people off, but I'm cutting Reverse Flash out, and I think it's between Brainiac and Sinestro. And between these two, okay. I think I know. Don't hate me, okay? I know. It's Brainiac. Like I said before, the guy's reached beyond Superman villain status and has been a consistent pick to be a foil for the Justice League as well. Also, Brainiac's been around for fucking forever. I mean, look at his first appearance costume compared to how it's portrayed now. What an evolution. Sinestro, while he is a layered and complex character, he is limited by how big the Green Lantern mythos is in the grand scheme of things. And as we discussed in the first half of this video, that does not even surpass the Flash, so. Honorable mentions! We've got Sinestro. We've got Reverse Flash. This is actually very hard to draw from here, because this is very low now. I feel like there's a lot of honorable mentions for villains, actually. Catwoman. We have Doomsday. Doomsday should also be an honorable mention. I don't really recall what he looks like, but I know he has like bones sticking out here. Yes, Doomsday. General Zod. I'm just gonna draw the Michael Shannon version. Who else? Riddler. I don't think Cheetah belongs there. Bane. Oh my god, my knees, help. That's Bane. That's my very low effort Bane. And yeah, I think that's it. Actually, no, maybe Deathstroke? I'll put him on there. Boom. Okay. So that's a lot of honorable mentions, but I honestly think they all deserve an honorable mention. Like I always say, these are just my personal decisions, and if you disagree, you should kill yourself. Now, if you didn't see the Marvel version of this that we did a few months ago, go check it out if you haven't already. And this series, it's not done. There are lots of pathways we can go into, so stay tuned for those. I'll see you next week. See you.
10-1-5 in the open night.